Hello and welcome to Horror Games History, a mini-series where we'll be going over the past 4 decades of horror games and how they help lay the groundwork for the tense and horrifying games we play today. This is the 3rd episode in the series, and here's a card for the link to the first 2 episodes, and make sure to subscribe for the final episode next week. Today we're taking a look at the 2000s, where filmmakers started pushing the limits on what the MPAA would allow, and developers were taking chances of what they could do in 3D. We'll start off with an amusement park called Illbleed, except it's always like Six Flags Fright Nights, and all your friends are missing. Illbleed was released in 2001 for the Dreamcast and puts you in the eyes of Eriko, who received free tickets to the park, but passed on it as her fear of clowns and funnel cake is too strong. After finding that her friends who did go to the park never returned, she races in to rescue them. Featuring 5 playable characters over the course of the game, Illbleed takes you through 7 levels, forcing you to clear them out to progress and rescue your friends. With multiple endings and multiple playthroughs, this game has some decent replayability. Another 2001 release is White Day, a labyrinth named School. Invoking Korean lore and style of horror, White Day shows you how bad school can really get. The plot involves feng shui, elemental amulets, and a ton of ghost scares. You play as Lee as he tries to sneak into school to deliver a lost diary, but eventually becomes trapped and forced to play along with the ghost's game. You'll have to outrun a janitor and escape the school in one of multiple endings. Plenty of jump scares and tense moments are available in the 2001 release, but in 2015 the game was re-released with updated graphics and it looks completely fantastic in my opinion. It has a more cartoony vibe, but still maintains a very solid horror atmosphere. Not to be left out, America has its own school-setting horror game, Obscure, released in 2005 for the PS2, PC, and Xbox. Leafmore High School is under attack by ghosts and ghouls, and 5 students, some flashlights, and daylight are the only lines of defense. They'll also learn about genetic mutations, immortality, and other things not covered by the curriculum. While not a highly rated game and more of an obscure horror game, see what I did with there? It does have some pretty cool ideas like taping flashlights to guns and basic crafting, and this is at a time where it wasn't a very common feature. A sequel was released later on, picking up on the students during their college years. For more ghosts, check out Fatal Frame, released on PS2 in 2002. Set in Japan, the main characters in the series are left to fend for themselves without any weapons, unless you count the camera obscura. This camera acts like a proton pack, letting you strike back against the ghosts and capturing them. The game has a distinctive Japanese style to it, and many of the ghosts are pulled from or inspired by Japanese folklore. If you want to give Fatal Frame a try, I'd recommend checking out the original Xbox release, as it's a bit more graphically enhanced, or you can check out the PSN version, which is the PS2 classic. Now for the first console horror game I ever bought myself, Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem. This game blew my mind as a teenager, as the sanity effects were unlike anything I've seen before in a game. Through the power of the Tome of Eternal Darkness, you play as multiple characters across multiple time periods and multiple playthroughs, and you need to play through the game 3 times to unlock everything the story had to offer. The main draw I had to this game was the sanity meter. I never got a clear description about what the sanity meter did, aside from mess with your game, before playing it, so imagine my shock when my character's head just fell off, the game changed to a different video input, or even the game going through the save menu and deleting all my saves. 14-year-old me had their first heart attack at that point. All the effects are completely cosmetic, but the stress and panic it would evoke the first time it happened was well worth the price of the game. Now let's start pushing the limits of ratings. Manhunt was released in 2003 for the PS2, with an Xbox and PC release in 2003, and it was Rockstar's most controversial game at the time, until Hot Coffee a little later. Mainly due to its graphic kill screens, it was banned in several countries. The story goes that James has a chance to escape death row by performing the director's snuff films across 20 scenes. Taking out entire gangs in the process, James is betrayed by the director and swears vengeance against them. And during his quest for revenge, we meet Pigsy, a deranged chainsaw-wielding pig gimp, and face off against him in a really cool cat-and-mouse style level. This level of gore means media and controversy will follow, with lawmakers pushing for the game's ban. Several countries refused to classify the game or even sell it outright, and even the UK media claimed that the game led to the murder of a 14-year-old boy. This claim actually led to more sales, as the threat of a ban made people fear missing out on it. 2005 brought us Cold Fear, which was Ubisoft's first horror game and often described as Resident Evil on a boat. Let's not mention Resident Evil Gaiden. You play as Tom Hansen, a US Coast Guard answering the call for a Russian whaling ship, and find that the entire crew has mutated into zombie-like creatures. The most impressive part of this entire game, to me at least, is the ship's physics. The swaying was done via a new program by developer Darkwave, and impacts everything from movement to shooting, with objects bucking around the ship always a threat to knocking Tom overboard. Of course, the ship isn't the only threat, with creatures that look like a mix of necromorphs and Resident Evil monsters patrolling the ship. How about some mind-twisting horror courtesy of H.P. Lovecraft? Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corner of the World was released in 2005 by Bethesda, and I remember this game very fondly because it was one of the first games I pirated it, but I did buy a copy on Steam once it was available, so we're cool, right? You play as Jack Walters, a detective investigating a Boston cult, with a larger role in the universe than he believed. With a minimal HUD, no aiming reticle, and the need to count your own shots, the game is not for everyone. Unfortunately, there are several bugs in the game, even the Steam version, and there are some glitches during tense moments, but in my opinion, the risk is well worth the reward of an interesting psychological horror game. Left 4 Dead was my first multiplayer zombie game, and while it's not a true horror game, I'd be remiss to pass on Valve's 2008 game, which helped players build connections with others while blasting apart the undead. Later on in 2009, Tripwire released their own zombie game, Killing Floor, which is a very well-made wave-based zombie shooter with some very cool character design, some sweet weapons, and a snarky Mr. Foster we all love. And that's it for 2000s, where gore was king on both consoles and film. If you enjoyed this look back to the previous decade, leave a thumbs up, or if I missed a game you love from the time, please let me know in the comments below. I know I didn't cover a few that I myself enjoyed, like Fear or Condemned, so I'd be happy to hear your thoughts. And if you want to be alerted when I release my final episode next week, or to catch my horror gameplay videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, have a great day, and remember to burn bright. Bye.